Sam Lovegrove was a heart of Shed and Buried, the expert who made every restoration feel real. Then, suddenly, he vanished from the show with no clear explanation. What really happened? Today, we're diving into the mystery behind Sam's disappearance, the rumors, and the surprising truth that few know. Let's uncover the story behind the man who quietly walked away from it all. Before he ever graced television screens, Sam Lovegrove was already something of a legend in the world of vintage engineering. With a keen eye for mechanics and a passion for restoring forgotten machines, Sam wasn't your typical TV personality. In fact, many fans would argue that's exactly what made him so compelling. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't scripted. He was real, calm, confident, and highly skilled. Sam brought a grounded, authentic energy to every scene of Shed and Buried. But to understand what really happened to him, we need to look at who he was before the cameras ever started rolling. Long before his name became synonymous with rusted motorcycles and dusty garages, Sam was quietly building a reputation in the world of high-performance automotive engineering. He was the type of expert who wasn't just reading manuals. He was writing them in his head, with a background in precision mechanics. He worked on everything from classic British bikes to competitive racing machines. The guy could walk into a shed filled with decades-old metal and tell you exactly what was worth saving and what was better left to rot. And when he decided to bring those skills to television, he didn't change a thing about himself. No glitz, no over-the-top gimmicks. Just Sam and a spanner. That raw authenticity quickly set him apart. When Shed and Buried first aired, audiences were immediately drawn to the unlikely chemistry between Sam and his co-host, Henry Cole. Where Henry brought energy and enthusiasm, Sam balanced things out with quiet expertise and wry humor. Their banter felt effortless, almost like two old friends having a laugh while digging through the past. And in many ways, that's exactly what it was. It wasn't just entertainment, it was connection. But Sam wasn't in it for fame. That much was clear from the start. Unlike other TV mechanics who seemed eager to sell a brand or push a product, Sam seemed perfectly content to let the machines speak for themselves. He didn't over-explain, didn't chase the spotlight. And maybe that's why people felt such a strong connection to him. He wasn't trying to be a celebrity. He was just doing what he loved. Still, even in the early seasons, there were hints that Sam preferred the workshop to the spotlight. He rarely did interviews, kept his private life completely under wraps, and avoided social media altogether. Fans knew little about his family, his background, or even where he lived, and that quiet nature only added to the intrigue. So when Sam started fading from view, it didn't take long for people to notice. He wasn't someone who needed attention, but his absence was impossible to ignore. Something had shifted. But what? And why? What happened next would turn a quiet mechanic into the center of a growing mystery. For a while, everything seemed business as usual. Fans were tuning into Shed and Buried, just as they always had, eager to see what hidden treasure Sam and Henry would stumble upon next. Whether it was an old Norton motorcycle buried under a tarp or a rusting three-wheeler in a barn, the show's charm never faded. But then, something changed, quietly and without warning. It started subtly, a missed episode here, a guest expert stepping in there. At first, fans brushed it off. Maybe Sam was just away for a week. Maybe he had other projects to focus on. But then the pattern continued. By the midpoint of season 4, it was undeniable. Sam Lovegrove was gone. There was no formal announcement, no social media post, not even a passing mention in the episodes. He simply wasn't there anymore. And in his place stood Fuzz Townsend, a familiar face to fans of British motoring TV. A capable co-host, sure, but not Sam. Viewers were caught off guard. Was this a temporary switch? Or had something deeper happened behind the scenes? Speculation exploded. Reddit threads, Facebook fan groups, YouTube comments. Everyone had a theory. Some said Sam had fallen out with producers. Others believed he was tired of being on camera and wanted to retreat into his private life. A few even feared something far worse, questioning whether his health had taken a serious turn. The mystery only deepened with silence. Henry Cole, usually so engaged with the fan base, didn't address the change for weeks. And as the episodes rolled on without Sam, that silence became deafening. Fans weren't just disappointed. They were worried. They missed his dry humor, his unmatched knowledge, and the way he could bring a seized-up engine back to life like it was nothing. But the most unsettling part? Sam hadn't said a word. No goodbye message. No farewell post. Not even a second-hand quote. For someone who'd been such an integral part of the show's identity, his vanishing act felt strange. Almost like it wasn't meant to be permanent. As if he had just stepped out of the frame and never walked back in. And just like that, the charm of Shed and Buried felt different. Not worse, just changed. Without Sam, something vital was missing. That grounded, mechanical soul at the heart of the series had quietly exited stage left, and the audience wasn't ready to let it go. But as fans searched for answers, digging through every clue and comment they could find, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a scheduling conflict. There was more to the story. Much more. The question now was, would anyone actually come forward and explain? After weeks of fan speculation and mounting confusion, the silence finally broke. But it wasn't what anyone expected. It came not from Sam himself, but from Henry Cole. In a casual post on his official Facebook page, Henry finally addressed the elephant in the room, Sam Lovegrove's disappearance. And just like that, the rumors started spinning in a new direction. According to Henry, there was no drama, no fallout, no mysterious disappearance. The explanation? Sam was simply busy. Too busy, in fact. He was, Henry said, knee-deep in restoring 2 motorcycles and couldn't step away from the workshop to join filming. That was it. End of story. At least officially. But for fans who had followed the show closely, the response felt off. Sam had always been busy. Juggling restorations, engineering projects, and television appearances was nothing new to him. Why would this be any different? And more importantly, if it really were that simple, why had it taken so long to say anything? The statement raised more questions than it answered. Was Sam really just tied up with motorcycles? Or was this a polite cover for something more serious? Fans were skeptical. And while Henry's message seemed sincere, it lacked the kind of detail that would put the rumors to rest. No mention of when or if Sam would return. No update from Sam himself. Just a vague assurance that he was busy and that everything was fine. But here's the thing. If Sam truly didn't want to come back, wouldn't he have said so? Or at the very least, issued a short message thanking fans for their support? Instead, the silence continued. No interviews. No social media activity. Not even a quote through a third party. For someone who had built such a loyal following, the complete lack of communication was baffling. It didn't help that Fuzz Townsend, the new co-host, had stepped in without any official transition. There was no episode acknowledging the change. No montage of Sam's best moments. No farewell send-off. It was almost as if the show expected the audience to move on without asking questions. But they didn't. In fact, they asked even more. Behind the scenes, whispers started to grow louder. Some claimed Sam had grown tired of TV altogether. Others suggested creative disagreements behind the camera. And a few believed that something personal had happened. Something too sensitive to share publicly. If that was the case, the vague explanation from Henry may have been an attempt to protect Sam's privacy. And maybe that was fair. Not every public figure owes fans their full story. But the mystery still lingered, and the lack of closure left many feeling unsettled. Because even if Sam had chosen to walk away, there was still the question no one could answer. Why like this? And just when it seemed the rumors might finally die down, a new theory emerged, one that would spark even more speculation. As the months passed and Sam Lovegrove remained off the radar, the speculation only deepened. For every fan that accepted Henry's "he's just busy" explanation, there were 5 more convinced that something else was going on. Something bigger. Something Sam, and perhaps the producers, didn't want to discuss publicly. That's when a more serious theory began making the rounds. What if it wasn't about work at all? What if Sam was dealing with something personal? Something that made appearing on camera impossible. Some fans pointed to Sam's demeanor in the later episodes before his disappearance. He still had his signature dry wit and mechanical know-how, but a few eagle-eyed viewers thought he looked more tired, maybe even thinner. Had he been facing health problems? There was no proof, no confirmation, but concern grew louder. "I hope he's okay," became a common phrase in fan forums. And with no statement from Sam himself, that concern turned into quiet worry. Others wondered if the issue wasn't physical, but emotional. Could the pressure of filming in public life have finally taken a toll? After all, Sam was never the kind of guy who seemed to thrive on the attention. His role on Shed and Buried was always more about the machines and the fame. The long filming hours, constant travel, and increasing exposure might have worn him down over time. For someone as private as Sam, the spotlight could have started to feel more like a burden than a blessing. Still, a darker theory lurked beneath the surface, whispered in comment sections but never confirmed. What if Sam had simply had enough? What if he wanted out, not just from the show, but from everything? It's a painful thought, but not one fan to completely dismiss. The idea that someone so respected and admired could quietly step away for deeply personal reasons struck a chord, and it made his total silence feel even more intentional. The producers remained tight-lipped. No new interviews, no special episodes, no behind-the-scenes insights. Shed and Buried simply continued without him, as though the chapter had been quietly closed. But viewers had moved on. The unanswered questions hung in the air. Was he unwell? Burned out? Dealing with something that couldn't be shown on camera? Some fans tried reaching out through indirect channels, emails to the network, messages to people who'd worked with him in the past, but no one shared anything new. It was like Sam had vanished into thin air, leaving only a shadow behind. Still, amidst all the theories, one question rose above the rest. If something truly serious had happened, why didn't anyone just say so? And then, just when things had started to quiet down, someone came forward, not with an official statement, but with a photo, and it sent the fan base into a frenzy. Just when speculation had begun to cool, and fans reluctantly started to accept that Sam Lovegrove might never return to Shed and Buried, everything changed with a single photo. No press release, no update from Henry Cole, just an uncaptioned image uploaded to a little-known vintage motorcycle forum by a user with only a handful of posts. It didn't take long for people to notice. In the grainy photo, taken at what looked like a quiet countryside auto jumble, stood none other than Sam Lovegrove. Same messy hair, same calm expression. But this time, he wasn't flanked by cameras or surrounded by crew members. He was alone, half hidden behind a stack of motorcycle parts, speaking with another man over what appeared to be a vintage gearbox. It was as if nothing had changed, and yet everything had. Fans latched onto the image instantly. Was this recent? Where was it taken? Was it proof that Sam was fine, and just living life far from the spotlight? Or was there something more telling in the photo? Some thought he looked older, more worn out. Others said he looked perfectly healthy and at peace. Either way, one thing was certain. He was still out there. He hadn't vanished. He hadn't stepped away from his passion. He was just doing it quietly, away from the cameras. The photo was quickly shared across fan groups, YouTube channels, and online forums. But what made it even more compelling was that Sam didn't acknowledge it. Not then, and not in the days that followed. He didn't deny it was him. He didn't comment at all. True to form, he remained completely silent, as if to say, let the image speak for itself. For fans, it was a jolt. After months of wondering if something terrible had happened, the photo offered a strange sort of comfort. Sam was alive. He was working, maybe even happy. But it also reignited the bigger mystery. If he was okay and still active in the motoring world, why had he walked away from the show without a word? Some speculated that he'd grown disillusioned with television, that maybe the series had changed in a way he didn't like. Or perhaps, after years of restoring machines under hot lights and tight deadlines, he just wanted to get back to basics, to wrenching in silence, without a camera over his shoulder. Still, the photo was proof that Sam hadn't disappeared completely. He had simply retreated into a world he was more comfortable in, a world of grease-stained manuals, weathered tools, and oil-slick floors. But as comforting as the image was, it didn't explain everything, and it certainly didn't stop the questions. Why hadn't he reached out to fans? Why the silence? And perhaps most puzzling of all, was there more to the story than even the photo revealed? Because not long after the image went viral, rumors started swirling again. This time, about a behind-the-scenes clash that no one saw coming. For years, viewers saw Sam Lovegrove and Henry Cole as the perfect pairing. Two gearheads with different personalities but shared passion. Sam was quiet, technical, and no-nonsense. Henry was louder, more animated, and driven by showmanship. Together, they balanced each other out. That dynamic was a heart of shed and buried. But behind the scenes, it seems the harmony might not have been quite so smooth. Whispers of tension started surfacing not long after Sam's unexplained absence. Nothing confirmed, just rumors, half-statements, and subtle clues that fans began piecing together. Some noticed that in interviews after Sam's departure, Henry carefully avoided going into details. Others pointed to comments made during unrelated episodes, small, throwaway lines that hinted at creative disagreements. Then came a particularly cryptic remark. In an interview promoting another project, Henry casually mentioned that not everyone wants to keep doing things the same way forever. He didn't name Sam. He didn't reference Shed and Buried. But fans connected the dots, and it didn't sound like someone just too busy with a motorcycle project. Insiders, anonymous ones, began leaking bits of information. Some claimed that by season 4, there was friction between Sam and the production team. That Sam had grown tired of the scripted feel creeping into a show that was originally supposed to be raw and spontaneous. Others said the tension was more personal, that Sam and Henry, despite their on-screen chemistry, had fundamentally different ideas about where the show was headed. If that's true, then maybe Sam didn't just walk away. Maybe he made a choice to leave rather than keep pushing against the tide he no longer believed in. It's worth noting that this kind of fallout isn't uncommon in long-running shows. What starts as a passion project can easily morph into a tight, pressure-filled production schedule, especially when a show starts gaining traction and the stakes get higher. Creative freedom can shrink, personalities can clash, and sometimes friendships get strained in the process. But here's the strange part. Neither Sam nor Henry has ever acknowledged any of it publicly. No feuds, no blame, no carefully worded, "we wish him well" statements. Just silence. And in that silence, the mystery has only grown louder. Because if there really was a falling out, one that ended a successful TV duo, why not clear the air? Why not give fans the truth? Unless there was more at risk than just public perception. Contracts, NDAs, personal pride, or maybe just two men who didn't want to air their dirty laundry. Whatever the reason, fans were left with a strange paradox. Two co-hosts who once shared laughs, long drive, and countless restorations, now existing in completely separate worlds. One still in the spotlight, the other tucked away in the shadows. And just when it seemed like we'd never hear from Sam again, another surprise would emerge. Not through TV, not from an interview, but from an unexpected comeback no one saw coming. After nearly 2 years of silence, blurry sightings, and half-truths, most fans had accepted that Sam Lovegrove was gone for good. His retreat from the public I felt permanent, like a chapter that had quietly closed without warning. But in true Sam fashion, his return wasn't announced with a press release or teased in some flashy trailer. It came out of nowhere, and it caught everyone completely off guard. It started with a YouTube video, not from the official Shed and Buried channel, but from a modest, independent classic motorbike page with just a few thousand followers. The video wasn't titled anything clickbait why. It simply read, "Sam Lovegrove visits our workshop." Most people would have scrolled past it until the thumbnail stopped them in their tracks. There he was, Sam Lovegrove, older, bearded, and a little grayer, but unmistakably him, smiling beside a greasy workbench, sleeves rolled up, explaining the inner workings of a pre-war engine. Within hours, the video exploded. Comments flooded in. "He's back! Is this new? Where's he been all this time?" In the clip, Sam looked relaxed. No production crew. No pressure. Just a man doing what he clearly still loved. Talking about machinery with the same sharp knowledge and dry humor that fans had missed for years. And for the first time in ages, it felt like the real Sam. Not the version edited for television, but the one people had connected with on a deeper level. He didn't address his disappearance directly. There was no statement, No breakdown of what happened with Shed and Buried. But there were hints. When asked if he missed being on TV, he paused for a moment before saying, "Not really. I prefer this. No scripts, no schedules, just proper work." It wasn't bitter. It wasn't angry. It was just honest. And that's when fans realized the truth might be simpler and more human than all the theories. Maybe Sam hadn't disappeared because of a health crisis or a secret feud. Maybe he'd just grown tired of the noise and wanted his life back. The machines, the peace, the authenticity. Still, the video reignited hope. If Sam was comfortable doing small appearances again, could more be on the horizon? A podcast? A guest spot? Maybe even a spinoff? The internet buzzed with speculation. But Sam, as always, gave nothing away. The video ended with him disappearing back into the workshop, waving off the camera with a smirk. No drama, no big announcement. Just Sam on his own terms. But even with this soft return, the bigger picture remained hazy. Would he ever work with Henry Cole again? Would Shed and Buried ever acknowledge his absence properly? Or was this quiet comeback the final word in a story fans still weren't ready to let go of? Because while the sight of Sam brought relief, it also left behind one final question. Was this the start of something new or the last glimpse we'd ever get? Despite Sam Lovegrove's low-key comeback, the fan community refused to let the story rest. Online, the discussions never stopped. Forums buzzed with theories, hope, and frustration. Even though Sam had taken a step back from the limelight, his fans weren't ready to close the book on his story, or on Shed and Buried without him. For many, Sam wasn't just a presenter, he was the heart of the show. His quiet confidence, sharp wit, and undeniable expertise made every episode feel genuine. The new episode without him, though still popular, lacked something intangible, an authenticity that only Sam seemed to bring. Fans openly expressed this on social media and comment sections, questioning why the show hadn't made a proper tribute or explanation. Some speculated that contractual restrictions might be preventing Sam from speaking openly about his departure. Others wondered if behind-the-scenes politics were still at play, keeping him from returning or even addressing the audience directly. The silence felt almost like a rift, not just between the hosts, but between Sam and the production itself. What fueled the fan base's passion was their desire for answers. They didn't want gossip or speculation. They wanted closure. A simple message, a heartfelt goodbye, or even an update on what Sam was really doing now. Instead, all they got were half sentences from Henry and vague statements about Sam being busy. This lack of transparency didn't stop the community from rallying. Fan pages dedicated to Sam's work started sharing rare photos, clips, and behind-the-scenes moments, celebrating the man who had quietly become a cult hero. Some fans organized petitions calling for a reunion episode or an official statement. Others created fan-made documentaries, piecing together what little information was available. The mystery of Sam Lovegrove's sudden exit and quiet return became a topic beyond just Shed and Buried. It touched on the challenges of public life, the toll of fame, and the struggle for personal privacy in the age of social media. Fans empathized with the idea that Sam might have needed to step back for his own well-being. But there was also a stubborn hope that one day Sam would break his silence, walk back into the light, and tell his story in his own words. Until then, the fans kept watching, waiting, and wondering, because in the end, Sam Lovegrove wasn't just a TV personality. He was a mystery, one that refused to be solved. At least not yet. And just when it seemed the fan theories had run their course, an unexpected twist appeared. One that would change everything. Just when fans thought they had pieced together the whole story of Sam Lovegrove's sudden disappearance and quiet comeback, a new twist turned everything upside down. It came from an unexpected source, a former crew member from Shed and Buried who chose to speak out anonymously. This insider revealed that behind the scenes, there had been a major shakeup during the show's fourth season, one that directly involved Sam. According to the source, tensions between Sam and producers weren't just about creative differences. They hinted at a dispute over safety concerns during filming. Apparently, Sam had raised serious worries about some of the restoration project being pushed too fast and too risky, with crew members working under intense pressure and sometimes in unsafe conditions. His objections, the insider said, weren't well received by the higher-ups, who were eager to keep production on schedule to meet growing audience demand. The conflict escalated, leading to heated meetings and growing frustration on both sides. Ultimately, the producers decided to sideline Sam, effectively pushing him out without a public explanation. This wasn't a mutual decision, but a fallout from standing up for safety and integrity. This revelation changed how many fans saw the whole story. It wasn't just about personal burnout or creative clashes. It was about someone standing up to the demands of a fast-paced production environment and paying a heavy price for it. The insider's account also shed light on why Sam's comeback was so low-key. The feud with producers meant he was contractually bound to stay quiet about the specifics, and stepping back into the spotlight risked reigniting old tensions. That explained his silence and reluctance to address the past directly. But despite the setbacks, Sam's reputation among fans only grew stronger, standing up for what he believed in. Even when it meant losing his place on a hit show, painted him as a principal figure in a world often driven by ratings over reality. This twist sparked renewed debate online. Was Shed and Buried sacrificing authenticity for speed? Were the producers responsible for pushing a beloved host out? And most importantly, would Sam ever get the chance to tell his side of the story fully? While the answers remain uncertain, this insider account added a powerful new layer to a story that had captivated viewers for years. It reminded everyone that sometimes the real battles happen away from the camera, and the cost can be much higher than anyone realizes. And as if that wasn't enough, a final surprise was still waiting. One that would leave fans stunned and eager for more. After years of silence, speculation, and surprising revelations, the story of Sam Lovegrove remains unfinished. But the future holds promise. Though Sam has stepped away from the limelight, his passion for restoration and motorcycles burns as brightly as ever. His quiet comeback showed that while the TV cameras may have faded, his love for the craft never did. What lies ahead for Sam is still a mystery. Fans hope he'll find a way back to the screen, but on his own terms, without the pressures and compromises that once weighed him down. Maybe it'll be a new show, a YouTube channel, or even just sharing his expertise in smaller, more personal projects. More importantly, Sam's story has become a symbol for those who value authenticity over fame. He reminds us that sometimes stepping away is the bravest thing you can do, especially in a world obsessed with constant exposure. His journey encourages anyone watching to prioritize what truly matters: the work, the passion, and the freedom to choose your own path. But there's one thing fans can count on. Wherever Sam Lovegrove goes next, it will be genuine. No scripts, no pressure. Just a real, unfiltered love of machines and the stories they tell. And while the questions about his departure may never be fully answered, one thing is clear. Sam's impact on Shed and Buried and the hearts of his fans will never fade. So, what really happened to Sam Lovegrove? The answer is complicated, full of twists, silence, and unexpected turns. But perhaps that's the point. Some stories aren't meant to be neatly wrapped up. They're meant to keep us wondering, hoping, and watching. And for fans of Shed and Buried, the hope remains alive that one day, Sam will share the full story himself. Until then, we wait and appreciate the mystery. Thanks for watching and joining us as we explore the mystery of Sam Lovegrove. His impact on Shed and Buried won't be forgotten. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit the bell. Until next time, stay curious.